Hey, babe. Hello, all, and welcome to the Affluent Marriage Podcast. You're listening to one prophet coach and one educator talk about living a rich and full marriage through generational wealth building principles, authentic two-way communication strategies, and everything in between to become a couple that lives in love and walks in wealth. Your legacy begins here.
Did you like that?
That was incredible. And it was a very nice clap that you had to start this. Now, I know that the listeners can't hear the clap because that's kind of what syncs everything for us, but I just want you to know, that was a great clap.
I've practiced a lot. I've had a lot of practice over time.
Yes, growing up in church.
Yeah, and learning how to clap.
There are different styles of claps. I don't think people know that.
Yeah, there's a clapping on the 1 and the 3 and the 2 and the 4.
I didn't even know that. What did you just say to me?
So, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. There are some people that clap on 1 and 3.
What about the E, 1 E andas? What about the E and andas?
We do have some of those people at church where they're just like,
they just do their own thing, right?
They just do their own thing, We
like
had that guy
there's a steady,
in church
yes.
that would literally
he would not just the beat, but he would clap to the rhythms
music.
and
and just create whatever they want. So those are the 1 E and a 2 E and a.
You got to be careful for those tambourine people that come into the church.
Oh yes,
man.
they're also 1 E and a 2 E.
They take over. There's signs when you go into the church. It's like no food or drink or tambourines. You can't have that in there.
There are some people who also will clap on the 1 and the 4. They just clap all over the place.
Those are my
they just don't know how to keep
rhythmically challenged brothers and sisters.
They don't really know what they're doing there.
They're out there.
Yep. They are.
And you will find them.
You will find them
because you will see them
easily.
Struggling.
Yes. But, that's okay. But all those years of clapping have got me to this point where I'm able to clap to begin this
into a
amazing podcast called the Affluent Marriage Podcast. And
the affluent clap.
Graham fam, the affluent clap. You got to perfect it. It's like, if you're watching the YouTube, the hands have to be in a specific spot, and then you. Well,
I'm picturing. This is a very, very, very small audience that I'm speaking to right now. But is it the Glitterati? Is that what it is?
Yes. Dance Central.
Dance Central.
That
on the
is
Connect.
A very, very niche audience that you're talking to. Yes, the Glitterati would clap like this.
Just picture Lady Gaga, right?
Yes.
Clapping oddly above her head in weird angles.
It's very, very interesting. And yes, that was a good game. It was really hard, but I liked this game. We should talk about, hold on. Before we go into our session for today, Graham fam, I think it's important to share with you, the things that we have done over the years make me laugh. This past year, Daniel and I celebrated 12 years of marriage.
Get it, girl.
And it was really fun to reminisce. If you were on our Instagram or on my Facebook page, you would have seen he made a video for me that was so cute of our baby pictures and when we finally met, and literally a picture.
It was actually my first time using Canva to make a slideshow. I didn't know that you could do that. And it was actually very easy. Cute. And it was actually kind of an incredible, fun experience. I really enjoyed myself.
You enjoyed yourself. It was very cute. And he had a picture from every year we were together until we got married. And then after that too. So it was really cool. I was very oh, so sweet. And as I'm looking at this, so I was remembering some stories.
It invokes memories.
And
I already feel like I know where you're going, but go ahead and go.
You talked about the Connect. You talked about the Glitterati, and it just made me think of our very first Christmas.
Oh, a good Christmas.
So it was a
great
good Christmas. We, again, when we talk about expectations, right? When you get into a new job, when you get married, when you have kids, society invoke their perception of what it should look like. And we fell prey to that our first Christmas. We thought that we needed to have buku gifts for each other.
We fell into a lot of societal norms.
Yes,
and
we did.
I just feel like a lot of that happened in our first space.
It really did.
Right? There were so many things we did that society would tell you to do in that first place. And yes, that Christmas was one of them. So go, please.
We got each other so many gifts that were cute little knickknacks and stuff like that. But then my husband, who is a gamer, he loves Xbox. That's his favorite console. We were done having opening our gifts and all of that stuff. And then there's a knock at the door. And I have a video on it somewhere on Facebook. It's horrible, horrible quality now because it's like, 10, 11 years ago. And a knock on the door, and in comes his brother. And I was like, oh, Chris, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I got one more gift for you. And I was like, oh, you're Santa or something like that. And he comes in and he brings this huge box and he puts it down in front of me. And I said, oh, it's for me? Or did he bring in a box?
So
No.
Go ahead.
He brought in, I don't know what he brought in, but I remember that in our house, in one of the cupboards,
it was hidden.
It was hidden. The
Yes.
box was hidden. Why was he over?
I don't know why he was there. Because you said that he brought something. And I'm like, I do remember him bringing something, but I thought you were going to describe him as being the gift bearer. And I was like, that was not his role. Because I was like,
his role?
Well, we had finished opening all of our gifts. We had received everything, opened it all. We were done. And I was like, I don't know why he came over, but I was like, but babe, do me a favor, go check in that cupboard over there.
Dude,
and you went over there and you opened it up and there's this
big
large square box.
Yeah. So, okay. I don't know why your brother was there. But anyway, so
he probably just wanted to play the Connect.
I guess. So I opened this box and he's like, Kim, this is for you. And I was like, for me? Like,
yes, babe.
Doe-eyed, big, huge eyes going,
bushy-tailed.
For me?
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Because
Thank you, babe.
I like dance games. I love DDR. If you know what DDR is, I need you to...
Then you're older than 30.
Oh my gosh. I need you to tell me in the comments. I need you to DM me so I can gush and nerd out with you. I love DDR. I love dance games. They're really fun to do. So anyway, I'm opening this up. And this was the year that Xbox came out with the Kinect, which was the body scan thing where you could dance in front of it. And it was kind of like the Wii, but without using additional controllers. It's probably another.
It obviously flopped because they don't sell that stuff anymore.
They don't sell it anymore. But anyway, so I was like, oh my gosh, I would love that. That would be so fun because there's all these games and yada, yada, yada. So anyway, I'm opening this thing up and it says the Kinect. And I was like, oh, babe, you got this for me?
You know it.
And I really thought that this man got this Kinect for me.
I did.
I was so excited that I got this Xbox Kinect.
Yes.
And then I opened it and I was like, oh my gosh. And he's like, yes. And I was like, this is the best first Christmas ever. This man spent I don't know how much the thing was, $300-$400. You had gift cards because I know how you are. You didn't buy anything.
I traded in a lot of stuff, and I mean, it probably didn't amount to much because if anyone knows about trading in things to GameStop and stuff like that, you don't get much for it. But I traded in. It was like a deal going on where you trade in your old Xbox and controllers and stuff like that, and you'll get this brand new one.
Yeah.
That came with the Kinect, and I was like, this is perfect. I get to upgrade my previous console to the next gen.
You hear this?
And my wife gets to connect in her game, so I get this.
For her.
She gets that. But yeah, for sure, your name was on that box, girl.
So he got himself a gift,
but labeled it as yours. Hey.
What?
Hey.
That is such a man thing to do. He's like, this is my first Christmas. How can I buy something for myself but disguise it for my wife so that I get what I want?
When your father bought your mom a vacuum.
Yes.
And it's like, I'm buying this for you, but what I really want is for you to vacuum.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm getting something out of this.
But me being my doe-eyed 23-year-old self was so smitten, thinking that this man bought this Kinect for me. And I was so excited to play it. Yeah, he knew how that would go down.
That was probably our most expensive Christmas.
You think so?
The year after that, we were deep into our debt grind.
We were no presents.
So we definitely weren't spending a lot of money on Christmas after that. And maybe of late, maybe with the two kids, maybe we're spending a little bit more. But even them, we know they get so many gifts from the in-laws and the grandparents and everyone else. Please. Our
Christmases are pretty chill. I would say, we were just talking about this the other day because of our anniversary. And I said, we don't really spend a lot on each other. I'm not into jewelry. I'm not into diamond studs. That's just not my love language. So I don't really have, we don't really do that for each other. But I said, I think we celebrate, we just celebrate, period. It doesn't really have a
very impressionable time in my life. And when I was in my early 20s, I met someone who really didn't go bonkers for birthdays and Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
It was very much like, we have this daughter and we buy her like a gift for sure. She gets something,
Right.
But it's not like this. The tree is like you can't see the carpet or the floor because the tree is absolutely covered in packages and gifts, and there's just endless expenses in sight. They kept it real simple. They're like, they still get something, but
That's
to
not what
us, it's about togetherness. It's about quality time. It's about experiences.
Baking cookies. Yes.
So that's what it's turned into for us.
Yes. So we do a lot of experiences. So that is really where it makes, that's where our gift, I guess our love languages, like our gift languages, I guess, is experiences with each other.
And sometimes we
They're
cut
simple.
expenses to have experiences, but sometimes the experiences are an expense.
Yeah. But sometimes they're free, like if you're just outside hanging out with your family and you're like, I just want to go on a picnic with my family. Like that doesn't cost a lot.
We're going to drive around and look at Halloween lights.
Yeah, Halloween lights. Yep.
Christmas lights.
We've done that before too. So anyway, I just think that was really funny. That's what just brought it back to me thinking about, the glitterati. That's what got us there. And the fact that we just celebrated our 12th anniversary. And yeah, you made me a PowerPoint, and it was.
I made you a Canva presentation,
a
my
Canva
girl.
presentation. But we did.
I upgraded this year.
We did go out earlier this month though, and we did have another experience. We spent buku dollar on an experience, and then bought a car the next day. So I feel like we did pretty good for our anniversary.
These were all planned things. This wasn't like drop of a dime, like spontaneous. Like let's buy a minivan. We've been planning. If you've been following, you know that.
So anyway, all right, let's jump in. Graham fam, I'm so happy that you guys are here. Thank you so much for being a part of our community and for investing your time and space and just being here and hearing all these things, these amazing tips.
A lot of the things that we just talked about, babe, were goals.
Yes.
The minivan, the little DC excursion trip we took, even as far back as that first ever Christmas together.
Yes, those were goals.
It was my goal to upgrade my Xbox.
And
mission
my wife's
accomplished.
name on it.
Right. But that was my goal. That necessarily wasn't your goal. I guess your goal was to get the Connect.
Yeah.
My goal was to get an upgraded Xbox. And we aligned our goals, whether you knew it or not. You
can say that we aligned it, sure. I never used that game.
You played for a little bit.
A little bit. All right. But it was
so here's
really
the deal.
Funny.
Setting financial goals with your spouse is an important step to achieving financial stability. We didn't have financial stability that first year.
We did not.
Because we were not aligned.
Yeah.
So working towards a shared vision is something that is important to do.
Yeah. And a shared vision, which is why if you have, at the timing of this, it is June 28th. We are about to do this masterclass in July.
In about 3 weeks.
And as of this, what we're talking about in our first masterclass is having the conversation about the vision, not getting down to the nitty gritty of like what do we need to do first and what do we need to do next? Because if you just start with all the details, you're not really going to get to your actual goal. But if you start with the vision, you actually can start seeing the whole picture, and then it makes sense to draw a line from where you are to where you want to be. But you need to see the big picture. So yeah, you need to start working towards a shared emphasis on shared vision for your future. So today we're going to be talking about some tips to help you set your financial goals together. And this is a really nice precursor to our masterclass. If you're coming, I'm so excited you're coming. And if you want to hang out with us for the entire year to talk deeply about these topics and ask questions from us or for us to us about this topic and any other topic that you have, you definitely want to check out theaffluentmarriage.com and, check it out, because that's going to be where our next information is for the next masterclass.
Look, because you're Grand Fam, you're already saving about $50-$60 just being Grand Fam on our deal. So thank you, and you are rewarded for being a part of the fam.
Absolutely.
Now, I am someone that would need this conversation that we're going to have tonight.
Oh, me too.
Because I think me more than you.
Really?
Like dreaming, look.
I need to.
I'm not going to say it's a man thing.
Uh-huh.
But if we were to talk about our wealth building plan and how we were going to attack debt or save money or invest or whatever, I'm not going to say it's a man thing. I'm just going to say it's a Dan thing. And I'm a very data driven analytic. Like, I love numbers.
Right.
And that's where I thrive. So if you're like, let's start a wealth building plan, like, let's talk about it. That's where I would want to go. I'd be like, all right, well, let's look at our income. Let's look at our expenses. Let's look at where we can cut costs. Let's look at where we can make more money. Let's see how we can and that's where I would go. That's what I would jump into.
Yeah.
And that's not where you would start.
No.
But that's where I would want to start.
Oh, of course.
And
I feel like there's a lot of people who would want to start
I
there.
would bore the crap out of you.
Which
if I started with that.
I feel like there are many, if you're a couple, if you're a part of a couple, part of a partnership, one of you is nodding your head profusely, like, yes,
like, I don't want to look at charts. I don't want to look at graphs.
Bored.
Plot point. Like, I don't want to look at that.
Yeah, I would be bored to tears if you decided to come at me with a wealth building plan, and it had to do with me cutting things out of my lifestyle. Like, I'd be like, why would I want to do that? That doesn't feel right at all.
Or saying, well, we don't have to cut things. You can just work more.
I don't want to work more. I don't want to do that. What is the reason for me working more? So that one day, 30 years from now, we can have more money in our... I'm telling you, there are some of you who are thinking this, so I know I'm not speaking just for myself. So that one day, 30 years from now, I can have money in there, but that may or may not be there. Like, come on. Like, that doesn't do anything for me. This is totally my mom too. I want to live my life now. So you are cutting into my lifestyle, sir, with your data, and you're telling me what I can and cannot do, which is why that's not a shared vision. I just want you to know, if one part of the couple has that perspective of, I don't want to do extra, I'm doing this so I can enjoy what I'm doing right now, and the other one is like, data, you don't have a shared vision. I will tell you that right now.
You need both people, though.
You need both people.
Right. It is important to have someone. And if neither of you are data number people, that's fine. That doesn't mean you're not going to be successful. But I'm just saying that there is value in the numbers person. Mm-hmm. They are a valuable resource to have. They are going to be a huge contribution to your wealth building plan.
Right.
But this is not where I would start.
No.
Setting goals and dreaming and visions, that's not where that's why I'm saying I need to hear this conversation.
Oh, got it. Okay.
I would be someone who needs to hear this, because this is not where I would start. So this would be a valuable resoce for me 10 years ago, 11 years ago.
Yes.
12 years ago, because that was our anniversary.
Well, I feel like that is what we started with was Dave Ramsey. That's what the Dave Ramsey program was. It forced us to initiate, this is our first point, to initiate an open and honest conversation. It forced us because it shared stories of people who were in the same position that we were in, but got out of it, and that they were still talking to each other, like they weren't yelling at each other. It showed us examples of this is like, it really broke through some of the societal norms that we were used to, that we were like, this is what you have to do, right? And it broke through that. And I was like, and it forced us to have conversations about, okay, well, what do you even want? Like, what do you want our lives to look like? And what are our beliefs? What are our priorities? What are the things that we desire? What makes me happiest and what makes you happiest? Like, let's write it down on a piece of paper. Do they even match? Like, this is not something we discussed in marriage counseling before we got married. Like, we talked about it maybe for a session, but it wasn't something that we actually sat down to take time to really dive deep into. What are my financial values and what are your financial values? So anyway, the first step is to start by discussing your individual financial values, beliefs, and priorities. Share your personal goals and aspirations with each other to gain a better understanding of what is important to both of you. I have a story about that too from a client, but I will share this a little bit later.
Here's what I'll say. You mentioned Dave Ramsey. I love that something that program does, not like the program that you take, but the program you can watch, like his radio show, is that people will call in and share, like you said, their story, because you're about to share a story. They'll call in, they'll say, hey, here are my numbers, here's where I'm at. You know, you can either celebrate with them or you cry with them, whatever it is, but you can find stories that are relatable to you.
Yes.
And that's really what I love about this podcast that we're doing.
Yep.
Because our goal is to be incredibly relatable, because this is our year of wealth building. Like we are really taking off. There's a lot of background work that happened, but we are speaking to people that are in the same boat as us. They are at that point where they're like, man, I'm crazy about building wealth. I want to be secure in my future. I want to be set for my kids, for myself, for my mother or my father, so that I can take care of them as they get older, right? Whatever it is, I want a vacation multiple times a year. We want you to be wildly successful and build generational wealth. And we're doing that this year too. And we're trying to be relatable. That's why we share our stories day in and day out and tell you where we're at.
And I know it's an inspiration for some people to hear our story and go, wow, that's so great. You guys are amazing. I love hearing your story. But I hope that it doesn't stop there. Like, I hope that you recognize that it's available to you too. And that's also why we share this and share our ups and our downs. Like, we share that not everything is absolutely perfect, because it isn't. There are some things that we're still working on, some things that we're consistently just putting out there. And so this podcast is really an open historical document, a diary of, this was not a great, this wasn't a great week, and here's why, and here's what I would have done differently. Don't repeat the same things I did. Okay. And if, hopefully you'll listen to it and you learn from our cautionary tales. But yeah, so I think this is really important, right? So going back to like the initiating open and honest conversation, I was talking to a client today who is actually in my retainer program. And so she just comes and talks to me once a month and just kind of, talks to me about things that are going. When she came to me, she was about to get married, but she had no idea what was going on in her business finances. She always felt completely disheveled. And she's like, okay, I want to work with you. So she got married in October, and it's just has been a whirlwind. She's been kind of like, it feels very disheveled, but she's been moving forward very consistently. So she just got back from her honeymoon. They went up to a honeymoon way later. And she was telling me today that when they got back from her honeymoon, she was like, well, we were kind of sad and I was really in a depressive state. And I was like, oh my gosh. And she was like, and we realized that our values are really different. And I was like, oh my gosh, did this, like, she scared me so much. I was thinking, she was like, we decided to call it off. I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening right now?
That'd have been horrible.
Right. I was like so scared. But she was like, no, we talked about our values and we talked about like our priorities, literally what we were just talking about here. And we realized that we don't want to live here anymore. And I was like, oh, tell me more. So they live in California. She's like, it's crazy expensive here. And we're always hearing people talk about more. We want more. We want more. And in my business, I thought I needed more money, more money, more money. And I'm recognizing I don't want that. I don't want to live that rat race. And he doesn't want to either. And so they started planning out. They realized that that was something that was a shared like value, that they don't want to live a life where they're constantly chasing the rat race. They don't want to just constantly make money just to make money. They want to do it for a purpose. And they worked out a plan where they want to live in an island like Costa Rica or something and buy property out there and do like, an Airbnb. She's in the mindful wellness space. So she's like yoga retreats. I'm thinking, hiring a small staff and doing retreats and doing, whatever. She's like, I'd be able to still run my business and do my practice, but also be able to be in a space where things are a little bit slower and I can help their community and I can support their economy. And I was like, whoa, that's a huge shift. And to know that like my money, one, that her money can go further in a different place. That's one thing. But two, recognizing that I don't have to follow suit with societal norms. Other people in the entrepreneurial space that say that I should be at multiple six figures and I should have the certain suit and I should be in this certain place. But if that's not me, guess what? I'm in control of my own goals. If I don't want this life, I don't have to have it. I can make it however I want it. And she was like, I'm really thankful that I did this work with you because it really helped me see that I can have that dream now because I'm not going to have debt soon. So I can make my dream life happen the way that I want to. And that's a beautiful thing.
I love everything about that. That's a couple that initiated and had an open and honest conversation about their finances, and they recognized the value of the word enough.
Yeah.
They know now what it means to have enough. Some people never find that.
Yeah.
And they just race in the rat race. They just run and they run and they run and they get more and then more, and they're never satisfied.
Yeah.
And they don't find that contentment, and they miss out on so much. Like, their whole point of making this money maybe have been to spend more time with your mom and dad as they get older, to spend time with your family, to spend time with your friends, to enjoy life and vacation more, to have time for yourself, to work less, to get out of a job, whatever it is. That was your goal. But you lost sight of that because you never found that word enough.
Yeah.
And you missed out.
Siri is like,
doesn't
I don't even know.
understand. She doesn't know how to respond to people that can't find the word enough.
Oh, I love that.
So they had that conversation. That's important. We had that conversation. Like, it's so important to talk early in your marriage, in your relationship, about these bigger things. Years before we had our firstborn.
Oh, yeah.
We had conversations, financial conversations about education.
Yes.
We talked about free education. We talked about paid education.
Yep.
And we were on different sides of the fence.
For a while. I feel like we're still on the same.
And we saw the pros and the cons for both. We're both on the same side of the fence right now. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
Oh, yes,
right,
100%.
Good.
I think anyone can agree that there's been a shift in education in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
What it was even like 10 years ago is not what it is today.
True.
So I think we both value the same education. So that was a conversation that we had, right? We had differing beliefs in education and how our children should be raised. And that was a serious conversation at that point.
Yeah.
That we did not see eye to eye on.
We did not. And it was conversation we kept picking up after a while. I mean, again, we both worked in private and public. So we had experiences in both, and we both had...
We saw the values in both.
Very different views of what we should do with our children. So it was a conversation that was never resolved until it was time to like put our child in school. It was a constant back and forth, not in a bad way.
So it was an open conversation.
But it was an open conversation that was like, we didn't come to an agreement. And so we just need to live life a little bit more. And as we get closer to that, we'll keep talking about it, you know?
But we gave ourselves the time to keep it open.
Yes.
It wasn't a rushed thing. It wasn't like, oh man, we have to make this decision by tomorrow.
No. And it wasn't a shutdown decision either. It wasn't like, this is what I want because, you know, I had the kid, so therefore I should be able to choose a type of, you know what I mean? Like that's not equitable to him either to do that. So we both had great pros and cons for each opinion. But it was important to just keep those communication lines open. And then when the time came, we were able to take all of that data and come up with a really great decision.
Data.
I know. So do I. Now I love data. Oh my gosh, I love data.
Now, if you don't know how to have a safe place conversation,
Go back.
We have a number of podcasts that you can listen to that talk about how to create and cultivate that safe place conversation. In general, we have a paid, that's Graham Fam, and that's you guys. You guys can go back and listen to that. We also have one that's for the everyman.
Yes.
How to have that safe place conversation. That's not in as much detail, but it does focus in a little bit more on money and how to have that conversation around money. So I encourage you and implore you to go back and listen to that if you're not sure how to initiate an open and honest conversation.
So true.
The next thing you need to do is identify, once you have that conversation, in that conversation, start identifying your shared objectives. You need to determine, babe, what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve as a couple? Like, where do you see us at the end of this year, 5 years from now? Like, what is our desired outcome for this relationship in terms of finances, right? And those could be saving for a down payment on a home. These are big things. Paying off debt, retirement, family planning, dream vacations, right? What are these shared goals that you have?
I think that this is something that's really important to recognize. You're going to have one person typically in the relationship that is going to have bigger goals, more broad goals. I want to invest. I want to have retirement, or I want to have an investment property. I want to, pay off the house. I want to pay, like, everything they choose is going to be I will call it in quotation marks, the unsexy stuff. Okay. Everything they choose is going to be very logistical and like, seriously, what? Why would you want to? This is boring. But then there's going to be that person that is very short-sighted, not a bad thing, but they're going to say, I just want to shop, or I want to be able to buy what I want to buy and not have to think twice about it. I want money to always be there so that if I want to go out with my girlfriends, or if I want to go out with my dudes, I can do that and not have to like talk to you about it. Like, I just want to be able to do it. Like, there's going to be that one person that wants freedom to do the fun stuff. And there's going to be that other person that has really bigger, more far out goals. And so it's going to be, I want you to just prepare yourself for that. That when you're looking at these objectives, the next step is to make a list of these goals and prioritize them based on importance and feasibility. And both of you need to be willing to say to the other, okay, I recognize that your situation or what you are wanting is way far out here. I can't see that picture right now. Like, I cannot see how this all comes together because it takes so long to even see it. So what does that look like on a day-to-day basis? You need to bring it down to like the most minute cellular day-to-day, month-to-month level. What does that look like? Does that look like $1,000 a month going towards X, Y, and Z? Well then we need to find a middle ground, because do we even have $1,000 to throw at this? Right? And as the person who is more short-sighted and wants more of the fun stuff, okay, then we need to have, what does that look like? What does quote unquote freedom, or just being able to spend what I want to spend, look like? Because money is finite. Even if you had millions and millions of dollars, there's still an end to it. So at what does that look like for you right now to make you feel like, okay, how much do you want then? And not like how much do you want then? Okay, understand the tone. Like, okay, well, what does that look like? How much do you want? What would make you, what do you think is a good amount to be able to do the things that you feel like you want to do? And once you both come up with that number, now you both can feel like, okay, you have what you want, I have what I want. We both have a shared goal that we're both like, okay, it is worth it to understand all the stuff that's happening around it, our bills, our utilities. I'm willing to keep those things low, or I'm willing to make sacrifices so that we both can have what we want in our savings goals and in our, fluffy fun goals. All of them are good goals. I just want to say, like, both of them are smart. Both of them are good.
Something that I had to figure out pretty early on in our marriage is that, and this sounds so simple, but sharing your financial goals, your common shared goals, is a conversation. It is not a debate.
No.
It is not an argument. There are no vetoes, right? You're here having this conversation right now with your partner because you care about them and you care for each other and you want what's best for each other. So right now you are having a conversation and you are listening to your partner talk about their goals. Mm-hmm. I started this marriage as a dream crusher.
Oh, goodness.
It was pretty bad because I'm a data person. I'm a numbers person.
Yeah.
So Kim would say, I want to go to Disney and I want to go this year. Now, I could listen to that and have a conversation and say, I love that. What a great idea. But that's not what I did. For me, it was like, almost like I needed to like prove to you, like, I have my goals, you have your goals, and I need to prove to you why my goals are superior.
Yeah.
And I want my goals to happen, and I would like try to like shut you down with numbers and be like,
how much
this is why this is not going to work.
This is why this is an outlandish goal. It's never going to happen.
Never. Yeah. So I was a dream crusher. I would shut down your dreams as soon, and not even like let you talk about them. Like as soon as you brought them up, you'd say, babe, this is what I want to do. I'm like, ooh, by the end of this year, like, look, babe, at the end of every month, we only have this much left over.
Yeah.
And after 12 months, we'd only have this much, and we got to pay for this, and this. So this isn't a feasible thing to do. There's no way this is going to happen. So just forget about it.
So here's where you enact a crazy person.
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
But that was early Dan.
Yeah. But this is what happens. Because then with that, and this person, if this is you, you'll know exactly what I mean. You enact a different version of me, right? When you tell me I can't, I say, oh, watch me, right? I am not afraid of saying, okay, well, I'll just work more. or I'll just find another job. Like if I want something, I'm gonna, so this is what I would do to combat that at first is I would do mock planning. Like I tell people to do mock vacations. Where are you going to go? What is it going to look like? How much does it cost? Like really put a number to it. So I would do these mock vacations and bring numbers to the table. This is how much it would cost to do this. This is how much it would cost to do that. I would talk to people as if I was going and I would get numbers together. So then I could say, it's not just a dream, right? I want to go to Disney one day. It was concrete. It's going to cost us $4,337.79 for us to go to Disney. Okay.
Wow.
Watch me go get it. Like it would be that type of, like that's how I would appease his data brain.
Yes.
I would literally put numbers to it. So then my dream wasn't so fluffy. It became concrete. And then when we actually came to the table, his data brain was able to go, oh, you know what? Like maybe we could go in 18 months if we did blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, deal, let's go.
Or we could go sooner if da 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 da.
And I'm like, all right, I'm game. Let's do it. I will work. I will do whatever I got to do. But I just need to know that you're on the same page with me.
So again, it's a conversation. I need you, my dream crushers out there like me, like I once was. Just
stop yourself.
Stop. You're still going to think the thoughts because even to this day, Kim,
I know
it goes through my brain. Like you say dreams and it goes in, it's in my brain and it's like, okay, babe, that's really not feasible.
But how many times have I come through? How many times have I come through though?
A lot. But I suppress those thoughts and I suppress the dream crusher that's inside. All right. It's never going to go away. My dream crushers, my data analytic people,
my dreamers,
it will always be there.
Yes.
But you can suppress it.
Yes. Dreamers, your dreams are never going anywhere.
Self-control.
Your dreams are still going to be there, right? So keep sharing your dreams because I will tell you, dream crushers, you're going to go so much further and do so many more things and experience so many things because that dreamer is allowed to dream without abandon and you both are able to work towards shared goals.
Here's where you
dreamers, you need to watch yourself too because not every dream you have is a dream that's worth shooting after. Like, it's not a dream worth chasing. I think that's a better phrasing. So once you find that shared dream, you'll be able to figure out, oh, this is actually a good thing for me to shoot for. And this actually was not a good thing to shoot for.
And here's the tie into what you said and what I was saying. Once you guys share in this conversation, listen to all of their dreams, listen to all of your dreams. All right. Because even the data analytic people have dreams too.
Yeah.
They might not be appealing to the person who's like, I want to do this, that, whatever you just said, the shopping and whatever. But you're going to take these goals that you've shared and you're going to prioritize them.
Yes.
Based on importance and feasibility. Is it feasible? Mm-hmm. That's a big word. Is it feasible? Yeah, I'm looking at you, girl. Based on importance. We did this year.
I just think it's so funny. I was thinking about a conversation we had yesterday, and I swear the side eye that I gave you.
Man, I don't even remember this conversation. I want to know now.
Well, you said, Kim, I think you're kind of obsessed with going to Disney.
Yes.
And I
do not retract my statement.
We can still go on vacations, but I think we need to like slow it down on the...
Here was my point with this though, because I think you guys will, like, Dan, you sound like a dream crusher. You sound like the data analytic guy again. And I am, but here's how I appeased her. Okay. I said, look, I made this wonderful, beautiful PowerPoint Canva slideshow. And I realized, in the last like 7 years, we've done something Disney related 4 times, right? There was Disney World, Disneyland, back to Disney World, now Disney Cruise, right? There's a lot of Disney. Like these are all very expensive vacations. And now here's where I didn't dream crush. Listen to me. I was like, we could spend like
the same amount,
$6-7 on this boat to get all 4 of us on this boat and enjoy this cruise. Or we could spend, I didn't say spend less, and that's why I'm not a dream crusher anymore. Mm-hmm. I was like, babe, we can still spend that $6-7, but what if we went on like 3 or 4 trips instead?
See how he appeased the dreamer in me?
A weekend getaway.
Yeah.
Maybe a Royal Caribbean instead.
Yeah.
Maybe go to like Great Wolf Lodge. Like there's so many other places. Like there's more than Disney out there, babe.
Great example of appeasing the dreamer while being able to like recognize that we could spread things out, right? So that is amazing. But then he had the gall to say, yeah, maybe we should just lay off Disney for a hot minute.
Just cool it for a second.
And I looked at him.
You did give me a serious side eye.
And I was like, you don't have to go.
I just don't want it to become watered down for you're like, oh yeah, been there.
But I was
that.
like, I am not opposed to just going to one park and just
like give it some time so it stays fresh.
No, bro, I can't. I am like high on the Mickey stuff, man.
You really are.
I really am. It's my happy place. I'm willing to work hard for that.
I love that. Keep watching those vlogs at night, girl.
I'm trying to find speaking gigs in Florida specifically so I can be like, well, since I'm here.
Since I'm in the area.
Might as well. And I'll go by myself. I love going to Disney by myself. But anyway.
Prioritize.
The feasibility of it.
Prioritize your goals. We did this year. We had all of our goals for 2023 that we were trying to accomplish. And we said, okay, what one is the most sexy to you? And for me, it was the rental property.
Yeah.
For you, it was this vacation.
Uh-huh.
Now, I guess in terms of like which one you desire the most, rental and vacation, that might go near the top of your list. Mm-hmm. But we had a conversation about, okay, well, let's take a look at importance, right? A minivan is important. Renovating the bathroom was important. Those were not at the top of either of our lists, but they were important.
But I will say, yes, in terms of the prioritizing them based on importance and feasibility. And like we had, again, that bigger goal of we want to rent out the space. We both had that shared vision, but these little tiny things were not in the way, but a part of that bigger goal. So, and even the vacation wasn't something like we had a timeline of when we wanted to do it. But the fact that we were able to put a deposit down on it, to me, I was like, I'm appeased because I know it's going to happen now. Like I'm there. Like just put me on the boat.
You
like,
satiated that a little bit. Right. And I got to do my little projects around the house.
Right. So we both got a little bit of what we wanted and it was going towards the same shared goal. We're still putting the house up for rent. It's all happening. All of these things are happening at the same-ish time. Like we're all working on them at the same time, the way that it kind of panned out. So to me, that wasn't like when we were prioritizing, even though we had a different like numerical of like what we thought was the most important, all of them were happening. Like we all knew like, oh no, it's going to happen this year.
Right. Everything on our list has happened so far and will continue to happen. That's not what's in question, but we did prioritize them to say, okay,
which one needs to happen
this
first?
Is what's going to happen first, second, third, So could we have started with the vacation back in like April? Yeah, we could have. But this is the way we prioritize. We had an open, honest conversation. We shared our goals with each other. And we said, okay, now that we've laid it all our cards on the table, let's kind of like place these in order of importance and be receptive to how your spouse prioritizes things.
I wanted to go for Christmas. So that's what helped.
And she got what she wanted. So, I listened.
But then we got the renovation at the same time. Like,
right.
So it all made sense that we were like, okay.
There is a give and take. You have to be able to compromise.
Yeah.
But just be receptive.
It's an open conversation. Hopefully that like landed for you guys. It's an open conversation. Okay. All right. So the next one that you want to do is quantify your goals.
This kind of just takes it.
We just kind of did it.
But it takes it a step further, I would say.
Okay.
Right. So you have your list of goals. You've listed them in order of priority and feasibility. Now you're going to quantify it, which means you're going to give it a number.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You're going to say, I'm going to assign a specific number to this goal. And that's kind of like what you said you did with Disney. You said, okay, the value is, you said 4,321, I think, $4,321. And give it a timeline, right? So you're adding a number to it. You're saying, this is my goal, but also here's the amount. Here's when it's going to happen. Here's what I have to do to get to each one, right? So for example, let's say you want to save for a down payment for your house or for your car. You determine the amount you need for that down payment, right? Mm-hmm. So for our minivan, it was $10K.
Yep.
We determined how much we wanted. Then you determined when you want to achieve it. We said, okay, we want to save up at least $10K by the end of June because that's when we're going to South Carolina on our trip to Grandma, and we want to just ride in style. We
Yeah,
want to have
man.
space. We want to have comfort. That was a
gonna be so
priority. It's going to be
comfortable.
amazing.
I'm so
That's a
excited.
priority for us. So we had our number, we had our timeline, so we knew what we needed to do to get to that number. So this helps you make your goals more tangible and easier to work towards, because you can say, okay, it's January. I put this much aside. This is how close I am to my goal.
Yep.
So that helps you quantify your goals.
And revisit this often. So this is when I talk to clients about having, I love that you're using that sipper. So
When she says sipper, that's I don't know if that's like a Southern term or what, but
Sipper.
I have a cactus water bottle and I am sipping from my cactus water bottle. I would not
Christmas
call
one,
it.
too.
Ooh, can we do this real quick?
What?
Okay. Don't answer anything, Kim.
We are.
I don't care. I'm doing it.
We are so squirrely today.
Because you said sipper, and I just got to know what the people think. Okay. You drive to the grocery store.
Oh, shut up.
You get out of your car. Mm-hmm. You walk into the grocery store and you place your hands on that thing that has 4 wheels and you push it around and you put items inside of it and you go through checkout and you get your bags and you put it back into that metal contraption with 4 wheels. What is that called?
It's a buggy.
No, that's a cart.
Nope, it's a buggy.
It's a cart. All right.
I don't
know
it
if you're a
cart more
buggy
now,
person
but
or a cart
shopping
person.
Cart. I'll call
but
it a shopping cart.
It is a shopping
But it's a
cart.
buggy. That's what I used to call it, a buggy.
So know that's a water bottle. It's a cactus water bottle, and it is a shopping cart.
It's a buggy. Okay. I think, okay, so going back to this whole idea of quantifying
Your goals.
Quantifying your goals. You want to make sure you put numbers next to it, very similar to what I said about the vacation, but also when you're talking about down payments and other things of that nature, quantifying it is what really makes it more tangible. And revisit these things often. This is the place where people mess up. They either dream and they have no basis for it. It's just a dream and it stays like a cloud. And it just floats away. And you're like, one day I'll do that. You're never going to do it if you don't have the tangible, actual quantified numbers next to it. Know how much it is, know how much it's going to cost, how much time it's going to take, and really have a plan for it, right? But then the next step is to revisit this often. How far am I away from my goal? Did I do something to go towards it? What actions am I taking every single day to make sure that I'm getting closer to this goal? This is how that you keep the dream and the quantifiable numbers alive. If you don't do that, then it will become a vapor. It'll be gone again. And you'll be like, oh, I guess it'll never happen. Or that'll be that dream that stays in the attic and never actually gets used. You have to keep going back to it if you really want it to come to fruition for you.
I'm going to jump around here a little bit because this next point doesn't really make sense if you're not doing some of the other points.
Okay.
Okay, so go with me here. The next point that we want to make after you quantify your goals, all right, you said, okay, this is how much we need to get there. Disney is 4,321, 4,321. We want to go there at the end of the year. The next point when you're sharing your financial dreams and goals is to assess your current financial situation. This really assumes something here. If you are able to assess your financial situation, that is assuming that you know how to budget and make a plan. You know your income, you know your expenses, you know what's left over at the end of the month, you know how much you can allocate to this. There's a big assumption here that you understand your money in a very significant way. If you can assess your current financial situation and say, okay, let me take stock of my income, my expenses, my assets. Let me review my budget, my spending habits, and I can help me understand my current financial standing, figure out what areas need to be adjusted so that I can achieve my goals, right? There's a big assumption there that people know what's going on.
Most people are not going to know how to do that, especially if you're the dreamer in the couple. The dreamer is not going to know where to start for that. They're going to be like, yeah, I have no idea where to start there. And that I guess this is not going to happen for me. I'll figure it out.
So for that, I would say, and you can say what you're going to say in a second, I would push pause on this entire conversation. It is wonderful that you are dreaming. It is wonderful that you have these goals. It's great that you've set numbers and you quantified and you prioritized and you made a list. Awesome. But before you take another step, we need you to go back and listen to how to make a budget.
100%. Go back.
You have to have
go back to the Millionaire Blueprint.
a plan. Yes. Watch how to budget with your spouse. Figure that out. Create that budget. Create that plan. Know your numbers, income, expenses, how to allocate. the works.
In fact, I would kind of say that if you're just popping in now, if this is the first episode you're hearing, then great. The first things that we just talked about are very important conversations for you to have with your spouse. Dream, do that thing, get the quantifiable like numbers to go with those dreams, prioritize all that stuff. And then yes, go back to that episode and go in detail, especially if you haven't done it in detail. How do I even manage what's going on inside my money, inside my budget? So then I can actually put some of these dreams into action. Because us just saying, assess your current financial situation and going over that is it's not going to go deep enough, and we're not going to spend this much time on this podcast talking about it.
Right.
So number 4 is to assess your current financial situation. If you need support with that, go back to those episodes.
Right. If you hear assess your financial situation and your first thought is, I got a couple credit cards that I could
that's
use,
not it.
or my husband or my spouse just went on this like trip, or they go golfing all the time, whatever. Like it seems like we've got money. I think we can do this. Like that's not
it.
Assessing your spouse's spending habits.
That's not it. Nope.
Assessing, how many credit cards you have.
Nope.
That's not assessing your financial situation.
That ain't it. So then the next one is to set realistic and measurable goals, which I think we kind of talked about in terms of what's feasible. But I think once you have an understanding of your assessing of your financial situation, it is going to be much easier to say, okay, is this actually feasible? Does this make sense? Is there something in the way that is helping me or that blocking us from being able to put as much towards these goals that we want, or towards this lifestyle that we just dreamt up together? So you want to make sure that the financial goals that you just wrote down are realistic and attainable based on your income, savings, and lifestyle. And so this is when you might say, okay, well, we need to actually focus on debt reduction because there's a lot of debt here. And now I'm recognizing how many minimum payments we're paying versus how much we actually owe. And whoa, that's a lot of stuff that we're paying every single month. We should get rid of that ASAP. Like that is what's keeping us from being able to live. Like all those quantifiable numbers or whatever, all those numbers I wrote down with the trips that I want to take, with the amount of money that I want to spend every single month and whatever, it's all swallowed up in these minimum payments. No wonder that we can't live this lifestyle that we want, right? So that's going to help you understand, like, is this an actual realistic goal that I can take right now? If it's not, break down those larger goals and make them into smaller milestones. It's going to make it more manageable and allow you to celebrate achievements and keep moving forward.
So this is kind of on me because I kind of jumped around, but I feel like we blitzed through this real quick. So let me go back and just recap step by step what we need you to do when you are sharing goals. So number 1, we told you to initiate an open and honest conversation. And if you don't know how to do that, go back and watch any of our episodes on creating and fostering a safe place conversation. Once you start that conversation that is open and honest, and it is a conversation, you're going to share those financial goals that you both want. Down payments on houses and cars, retirement, investments, vacations, family planning, private school versus public school, whatever it is. Share those in an open, honest conversation. Then you're going to make a list and prioritize them. Make a list for you, a list for her, for him, and then put those lists together and go through it and make a common list together. Quantify your goals. This is where you're actually going to assign numbers to each and every goal and say, this is how much we need to save up, and then give it a date. Then you're going to assess your current financial situation and say, okay, well, this is what we want to do, but let's have a reality check here. Where are we at? Like, is this even something that's feasible? Is the time that we set actually doable? Like, can we actually do this by June? Like, is this something that we can hit? Or do we need to extend our timeline and say, you know what, maybe that wasn't feasible. It can still be done.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen by June. Like, it's going to take another month or two because we've got some, irregular expenses that are going to pop up in those months. There's an auto insurance that's going to go through, or a gym payment's a little higher in that month. There's a once a year thing. Like, there's expenses that pop up that might push your timeline a little bit.
I will say that we literally just did that. That's our story of getting out of debt follows this exact path, because what we did was we had this dream. We started talking about assessing our financial situation. And after we did that, we recognized, oh, it's going to take us like another, 30 years to get rid of this debt. And then we got it down, right. And then we got it down to 7 or 10 years.
10 years.
If we paid a little bit extra. And then we were like,
like
okay.
5 or 6 after that.
We were like, okay, what if we did this? Then it became that we broke down those large goals into smaller milestones, or into like, if we did X, Y, and Z, and we put additional amount towards this, if this was the goal, if anything extra went here, we could live our life, our lifestyle that we desired even faster. That was the fuel that got us to get to those goals that we desired. And if it wasn't for that dream conversation at the very beginning, and I don't think we would have gotten to that point, because
it was so motivating.
It was, you love bringing that up. But I think I needed to see, again, and I say this over and over and over again, I need to see the bigger picture. And if you would have came up to me, if he was the only one, I will say this too, if you're the only one listening to this podcast and you're getting motivated to be disciplined, and you're getting motivated, and your spouse is not listening, and your spouse is just still like, nope, I'm going to do my own thing and that's it, you're going to find that it's going to be harder for them to either dream, or harder for them to like get to the table with you. Right. So, you kind of have to like do a little bit more work to like get to that dreaming phase. So, because if Daniel was the only one who took that course, and he came to me and said, hey, we need to pay off our debt, and this is how long it's going to take. It's going to take like 30 years. I would have been like, seriously? No. What? What do you
want to
mean?
Save and spend $76,000 on loans?
No.
With that same money, that's a down payment on a house. That's a down payment on a car, or buy a car outright. That's vacations. That's 12 vacations to Disney.
Like, I don't want to do that. Like, you would not have heard another word from me if you went straight for the data, right? And same thing if I walked in the door and I was like, oh my gosh, babe, I think we can pay off this debt, and I think we could do it. And I'm the dreamer and also the one that's like super motivated. Like, I think we should do it in like 10 years. And he'd be like, girl, you crazy. Like, what? Like, what? Come on, like, be realistic. So in the same way, you kind of have to like meet your spouse where they are and the way that they would learn, to kind of make sure that you're setting realistic and measurable goals.
Be happy that they're even sharing that goal with you. If they're willing to say, no, we can't do that in 5, but we can do it in 7. Hey,
okay,
that means we are doing it.
Business. Let's
right?
have a conversation.
We're actually doing this together.
Yeah, for sure.
Set those realistic and measurable goals. Chunk it up. Like, there's something that happens in your brain when you accomplish a small goal. It just releases those endorphins, and you're like, man, I did it. And you just get excited. Like, there's that psychology behind it. It is important to feel that win, to feel that success. So break those goals up. Like, if you're trying to save $4,321 for Disney, break it up into like, I saved my first 500.
Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah.
I saved my second 500. I did it. I'm 1,000. I'm 25% of the way there.
I'm a big proponent of making it exciting. Like, use those little thermostats that you use at school when you're trying to raise money for something, and everyone like cheers, and like you get really fun stuff every time you meet a certain milestone. Like, I'm all for that. Make it as cheesy and cringy as possible, because it's those simple things that keep you going. And
we'll also show your spouse like, oh wow, they're actually doing the thing. Like, they're over there having their little celebration party because they hit another mini milestone. I love that.
Yeah, like you have to make it very, very apparent and aware for you. So, okay. So the next one is to make a plan. And
which basically says you have your budget, right? Your plan is your budget. I think it's important to just know your numbers so well that if you need to make adjustments to reach your goals, you're able to do that. Oh
man, guys, if it was only up to numbers, I mean, every single one of us would be multimillionaires. Oh my gosh, you have to get your emotions out of the way. Like, stop thinking that you failed just in case, just because one little thing went wrong. And it might have been something you had to pay for. Like, the amount of times that I hear people go, oh man, I tried, like I was really excited to do this. And then this one thing happened. And so I guess it's never going to happen for me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, are you kidding me? Did you really think that you were going to decide today that you were going to be better with your money and that it was just automatically going to go well? Like, you're going to experience pitfalls. You are going to experience them. So decide now before you do this. Like when you're making this plan, decide if there is a pitfall.
And there will be.
When there is a pitfall, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to solve this problem. Like, just plan, because it's gonna happen. Like, it's inevitable. Okay.
You just have to be resilient. Like, there were months where it's like, okay, you know what? This was unexpected. This expense happened. Our washer and dryer decided to break. So we're not allocating funds to our vacations, to our entertainment, to our auto repair, to our whatever hair care and clothing, whatever it is. We're not allocating funds there. We're going to take that money and allocate it to the washer and dryer because it broke. Right. And we don't have enough money. Like, you know, it was an $800 expense, and after we cut all that, it knocked it down to like a $200 expense. Then okay, that's emergency fund.
Yep. Or when we first started, because I think that's more relatable to a lot of people who are in that situation. When we first started, our cars were not new. Okay. So our cars needed support. They needed to be oil changed. They had to have tires. They had to, whatever. There was a lot of things that occurred. I remember one time that we moved into our new apartment, our smaller apartment, and we had 2 parking spots. One was in the development, which we needed to have like a tag, and the other one was on the side of the road. And we parked in the development, and our parking tag was supposed to come in, and I was looking for it, and it was supposed to be in the mail, and I never saw it. Then one morning we woke up and our car was gone. And I was like,
we thought it was stolen.
I was like, babe, where's our car? And in the meantime, we're trying to pay off debt. We moved into the smaller apartment as a result of trying to put more money towards this debt.
This happened within our first week.
Reason of living here. And then we had to go and get the car, and it was like $300 to get this car out. Talk about an unforeseen expense, right? So just moved into a new space, which already costs money. Now having to pay an additional $300 to get the car out of the whatever lot, then drive it back, and only to find out that the car tag was in the mailbox. It had just been delivered. It was the most comical, frustrating thing ever. But like stuff like that's going to happen. Like,
we've had our car towed maybe like 5 times in our life, and 4 of them were while we lived there at that property.
Golly.
They were on it.
They were so on it. There were so many random times that they like towed my car, and I was like, stop towing my car. So stop it. Stop recognizing or stop thinking that these unforeseen or
be resilient.
Have a plan when you're making this plan for when it does not go your way so that you stay on track.
That's right. So you have a plan. You're able to make adjustments with your plan so that you can make these goals, these dreams a reality. Mm-hmm. Now, next, you need to make sure that and we mentioned this, regularly review and revise, right? Schedule regular check-ins. I said this last time and I'll say it again. If you are not regularly checking in with your budget, tracking, revising, making adjustments, reallocating, you're not budgeting. Mm-mm. It's really cute that you set this goal and you said, I'm going to spend X amount of dollar on X amount of thing.
Be real.
And that's what it's going to happen at the end of the month. Like, no, things happen every single day. You're at work and you're falling asleep and you're like, crap, I need a coffee. Mm-hmm. And you go buy the coffee, but you didn't expect to do that. Mm-mm. But it happened. Like these random expenses happen. Like those things happen.
So plan for the incidentals.
Right? So make sure you are regularly checking. Mm-hmm. So be able to adapt, be able to strategize accordingly, communicate with your spouse, be flexible. That's the key to keeping your plans on track.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the other one that's really important is to celebrate those successes on I know you just said something similar to that.
No, this is big.
I was talking to several clients today about this. I was talking to my coach about this. My coach is a person who's making, several like $100,000 months. She ranges between 85 and 100K, and she is just the most down to earth, very like, I just want to enjoy my life type of thing. Like she's not out here just like, oh, look, I got this new handmade handbag. And I just loved that. Like I really liked her vibe, which is why I worked under her. So anyway, we were talking about this and she actually mentioned like, it's really interesting. You can have your biggest months ever. And sometimes you can still, when you see them often, you're just kind of like, oh yeah, that happened. And you don't stop to celebrate it. And that's why you need to have a community of people around you who are going to make you recognize and celebrate what you just accomplished. I just had like a consecutive, like however many months of this last year have been some of my top earning months. And I've never, like, I was like, okay, I need to celebrate it. And when we went to our
DC excursion.
Yeah, when we went to our little DC excursion, that was part of I did it. This is one of my biggest months. I'm going to go ahead and like celebrate it. And we're going to do something that's a little bit out of the ordinary. And that was hard. Sometimes it's really hard to like do that. Something that's out of your comfort zone. Spending that much money like on myself. I'll do that for coaching in a heartbeat, but for whatever reason, doing it for myself, it felt weird. I bought myself a Coach handbag the other month, and the sweat on my palms when I was purchasing that thing. And it's not like I've never spent that much money before. It was just a different feeling. It is something that you have to take yourself out of your own head and celebrate your success. And get used to celebrating your success. Get used to not just writing it down and saying, yay me, but telling other people about it, telling your spouse about it. You and your spouse should celebrate it. That's when you should go out for those really fun, like, overnight experiences or going to a really fun restaurant or whatever. Like enjoy and celebrate the success that you have just created, because that's what's going to keep you going, especially the dreamers out there. That's what's going to keep you going when you have to say no to yourself.
I want to say this about resilience, because there's someone listening who needs to hear this. You just said that within the last few months, you've had some of your best months ever in your business. Mm-hmm. This time last year, you were having some of your worst months ever and
Correct.
Worst stretches
Correct.
ever in this business. And if you gave up
Yep.
last year and had a pity party and you were just weak-minded, you would never be where you are
That's
today.
100,000%.
Absolutely have to remain resilient. Don't give up when life happens, because 2022 was probably one of the worst financial growing pains years of our life, with everything breaking and your droughts, your stretches, and you didn't give up. You kept going. Sure, your mental, was off. It was shaken, but
pushing through
but you pushed
regardless.
through. You got advice, you got counsel, you got help, and you pushed through. And here you are today,
right.
having some of your best months ever.
Yep.
And you are celebrating. And I would argue that even in those low months last year, you found ways to celebrate in between those months. So you have to find the small successes to keep you motivated and keep you disciplined.
Yes, exactly.
On the prize.
Yep, absolutely. Lastly, and this is most of our, whenever we talk, we say seek professional guidance and advice
from
Kim. Me if you need
the
it.
Profit Coach.
Listen, this is not, it's numbers, yes, and numbers might seem so black and white, like it's easy. It's not. It's emotional. It's taxing. It's strategy. It's what should I do next? And if you don't have a community around you that is able to support you, keep you on track, answer those questions, talk to someone who's been there before, who's done that. If you don't have anyone who's done this before, how are you going to be able to blaze the trail for yourself? You don't have to do it by yourself. So seek professional advice and support if you need it. It is worth the investment to have someone to say, hey, can I just connect with you for an hour and just really talk to you? Can I just have a strategy session? Can I just do what you need to do to get the support you need, to get an understanding of your aspects of your finances. So just provide or get to an expert to make sure that you understand what's happening in your specific situation and how to solve whatever problem or whatever situation you're in.
Yeah, you're listening to two people that do this pretty well for a living. We handle money and manage money pretty well, and we still
I love coaches.
Seek after professional advice.
Yep.
Because it's just nice to have a fresh perspective, someone who can see things from a different lens, a different angle, who can look at your situation and see things in ways you didn't even see it.
Recently I was just thinking to myself, because I just invested in another coaching program, but this one is like more of a networking program, which I'm really enjoying myself in it. And I've actually was like, wow, you know what? I'm really excited to be around people who have a higher net worth than me. Like, I want to be around people who are the best givers, who have amazing marriages, who go on amazing trips. Cause I'm about to be like, yo, let me go on that boat. But who are living extraordinary lives, but are also giving and supporting others in extraordinary ways, because that's what I know we want to do. And I want to be able to befriend and get close to those people, to just be around them. Because if your community and your space and your mentors are all there, and they're all great examples of that, there is no doubt that you will want that you will be like, okay, you know what? I know that I can do this because the trail has been blazed. There are other people who have done this and who have done this well. I know it's possible for me too.
So if you feel like you need to seek professional advice, by all means, we're giving you the go ahead.
Yep.
Go find that advice.
Come to our masterclass.
And your advice could literally be right here.
Yep. Literally.
You're listening to it. So remember, setting financial goals with your spouse requires open communication, compromise, and a shared commitment to work together towards your common objectives. By aligning your financial aspirations, you can strengthen your relationship and achieve greater financial security.
Mic drop.
How good is that? So
good. Guys, I really hope you are feeling good about setting goals for yourself and setting goals with your spouse and partner, because I'm telling you from our experience, we would not be where we are today without that conversation, without just setting a goal, without following this exact list. So I hope it was helpful to you today.
You know what would be helpful? A CTA.
A CTA. Oh, perfect. Okay. So I was actually thinking that this would be a really great activity for the masterclass. So I'm only going to, whatever, I'm just going to give it to you guys. And if you guys are at the masterclass,
this is Gram Fam.
Wonderful. I want, if you are working with a spouse, a partner, that I want you guys to do the CTA. So one person, get a piece of paper, and one person is going to write down their financial beliefs, values, and priorities. Like, what are the things that they see for themselves, for the family? Like, I want you to you can create little boxes. I don't care. I think last time we've used the hamburger or the hot dog. Mm-hmm. This time we're going to fold it like a hamburger. I'm just kidding. You can fold it however you'd like.
Like a pocket square.
Like a pocket square. So you have lots of little squares, and then you're able to write down, like, here are my financial beliefs, my financial goals, what I want to do in life. Like, what do I want my lifestyle to look like? I mean, you could come up with questions galore. Like, I want you to write a story of what your dream life is going to be like, and then quantify it. Ooh. That's a big one. And your spouse needs to do the same. Your partner needs to do the same. And then you guys need to compare, like, what commonalities do you see there, and start the conversation.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, I know.
That's exciting.
If you actually do that, do you know how exciting that would be?
Quantifying it for me is the big thing. I love dreaming.
Quantifying.
I love dreaming. But to quantify it and put numbers to it, and put dates
quantifying.
to it.
I can be a researcher now.
It makes those dreams a little bit more real.
Yes, agreed.
A little more tangible.
Agreed.
I love that. Guys, you are listening to the Affluent Marriage Podcast. This is my wife, Kimberly Graham. She is the Profit Coach. I'm Dan Graham, the host of the Affluent Marriage Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. Go live in love, walk in wealth, set some financial goals, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.